Greetings. Thanks for tuning in. In this series of lessons, I'm going to show you how to play my solo guitar arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon. And I'm going to read a little bit off my laptop, which is to my left, because I've made some notes that I want to share with you before we actually get started with the hands-on guitar work. This is pretty important stuff. So here goes. Please excuse me if I continually turn to this side. Okay, the inspiration for this. This was inspired from the recording of the Count Basie Orchestra with Frank Sinatra. There's a recording, I believe, called Live at the Sands, where Frank Sinatra sings this, and the Count Basie Orchestra is super groovin'. It's the inspiration for this. And believe it or not, the guy conducting the orchestra is Quincy Jones, the famous guy who produced a lot of Michael Jackson stuff. So it's kind of cool that you see that even a guy who's done a lot of pop things has some pretty serious jazz experience. Okay, so I want you to know that since prior to fingerstyle, I played a lot of jazz guitar and a lot of jazz voicings. There may be stuff that doesn't feel 100% natural to you at first. When possible, I'm going to offer an alternate, easier way to do things. And I will constantly remind you during this that if you hit a roadblock, part of your job as you being you is to just eliminate hard stuff, boil this down to the essentials so that you can go out and play this successfully. There are some tricky things that maybe you'll say, yeah, I can overcome this if I practice it, but there may also be tricky things where you just get frustrated. And as a Study with Adam member, you can always email me. I'll help you iron things out, and I'll help you show you where you can eliminate and just make things easier, because I want you to go out and play this for people, or play it for your family, or play it for yourself and enjoy playing it. Okay. There is going to be, I'm trying something new with this video. I'm going to offer a help file, and that's going to be a PDF almost completely blank. Okay, because I can't give away PDFs of copyrighted music, but I'm going to show the tabs on the screen on the videos. And then if you want to jot down notes, you can jot it into the help file. Okay, and you will be able to see the chord progression. That's no problem to give that to you. And you'll be able to see the overall structure. And while I know this is not quite as ideal as flat out tabs, I'm hoping that this can help you as a study aid, because many of you have said, Adam, I simply can't remember everything you're saying in the video. And I understand that. It's hard to keep that all in RAM, in the memory when it's all new. So this way you can jot things down in pencil, make little notes, see where you are, and take that help file over to the music stand when you practice this. And we're going to try the first go of that with this video, and we'll see how that evolves. Okay, so I'm in a state of ever evolving the teaching method here. Okay, very important. This is an intermediate to advanced level piece. If you are a beginner, this may discourage you. So please, if you're a beginner, check it out, play around with it, but don't hold your own feet to the fire that you have to learn this, because there's some tricky stuff in here, okay? And if you want to work on an easier version with me personally, we can figure that out. In order to learn, I'll shut up soon, I promise, but in order to learn the jazzy passages, you got to do it in a certain order. Step one, you have to be able to sing the phrase first, okay? So, for example, if we're doing Fly Me to the Moon, we are doing Fly Me to the Moon, you first have to be able to go 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, a 4. Bam, 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 bam. Ba-dum, bam, bam, ba-da-da-da. If you cannot sing that to some, it doesn't have to sound exactly like me, but your hands won't be able to do it, okay? Next step, step 2, you're going to get just the melody line, okay? I'm going to lead you through this. You got to be able to go. You got to figure out where that line, for example, that one, and there's others, how that lays against the rhythm. You can't possibly do it with bass notes and chords unless you can do it on the single line. Then, once your concept, you have this thread with the flow, you'll be able to easily go. You'll be able to do it with all the other parts, but all the other parts hook onto the flow and hook onto the melodic line, okay? A sure way to get lost and confused is to sit down with the tabs and barely be able to play the first chord and not understand what it's supposed to sound like and not understand where the groove is. That's where a lot of people get messed up. They sit down and, oh man, it's so hard. So get the sound first. Then learn through the videos step by step. Okay? Super important, super important. I should have put this first. You must do the video over in the concepts section. It was part of the Mas Que Nada videos originally, the Boo Boom Bap videos. I show you how I do the groove stuff. I show you how I build arrangements. I show you ba-boom, bap, ba-boom, bap, ba-boom, bap. And the bap has back strikes. If you don't do that video, certain things that I say in these videos won't make sense, okay? So I'll stop talking, pick up your guitar, let's start playing together. Let's learn Fly Me to the Moon. Alrighty, gang, so let's start looking at the Count Basie style intro to Fly Me to the Moon, okay? I have 2 versions of it. I have the easy version and I've got the tricky version, okay? And I'm going to show you the easy version first, okay? Easy in terms of guitar fingering. It's the same rhythm for both. So now check this rhythm out. If the first 3 hits are on beats 1, 2, and 3, okay? So rather than do it on the guitar, I'm just going to sing it, even though you're looking at my hands. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bop, bop, bop. Okay, that's pretty easy. Now, on the last bop, on the third one, we're going to do bakatu. So it's going to be like this. 1, 2, ready, and bop, bop, bakatu. Okay? I know that might sound silly right now, but what's going to happen is there's going to be another bop, bop, bop that's on off beats. And this bakatu thing sets us up. So here's the rhythm, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Bop, bop, bakatu. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bakatu. Bop, bop, bop. Sing it with me. Bop, bop, bakatu. Bop, bop, bop. One more time. Bop, bop, bakatu. Bop, bop, bop. So we're going to do a little Count Basie-ish thing on the guitar with that rhythm. Okay, and it's going to happen 3 times, and then the 4th time we're going to do a little wrap up. Okay, so now watch it. Here's the easy version. You're going to grab with your pinky, grab the G, 3rd fret, with your index finger, grab the C, and we're going to just go with the index and middle finger on the right hand. See that? So we're moving that one up while we're holding this one. Okay. So we're gonna build up to the full thing, but now here, let's do it with that rhythm. 1, 2, ready, and ba 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 ga do ba 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 chip ba 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 ga do ba 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 oh chip third two ba ga do, and then it's gonna do a little wrap up, which I'll show you, so don't worry about that. Okay, next step, we're going to fill in this little rhythm in the holes. After we get to this one, we're going to fill it with an empty D, with an open, not empty, open D string. So just listen and try to copy what I'm doing, okay? 1, 2, ready, and ba, 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 ga, do, did, did. Comes on the 2, ba, ga, 2, ba. Wrap up. So now let me show you what that little wrap up is. We'll do this a couple times slowly, so if you're not getting it on the first time through, don't worry about it. I'm going to walk you through. Okay? So now this chord that I'm sliding, let me show you what I'm getting up to. 7th fret, 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, and an open A. Okay, and I'm plucking it I got kind of a sneaky thing here over on the right hand, 3rd finger, and you don't have to do it like this. I like to do it like this. 3rd finger, high E string, and it's going to brush the B string, 2nd finger G string, 1st finger D string. So I've got my fingers placed. There's nothing on the 2nd string. That way I can get the melody to come out a little bit better. We still hear the 2nd string, but we predominantly hear the 1st string. So I'm sliding up to that from a fret below. I'm going blue. And then I've got this chord over here. It's like a D7 chord. It's called D7 sus because we go. All right. And then a simple G chord, which of course looks crazy when I do my thumb over the top of the neck. Feel free to do any way you want. I'm only playing the outer 2 strings on the 3rd fret, the G's, those 2, and those 2 inner strings, the 2nd and 3rd string. So I'm going. I happen to like doing it like that, but I have pretty big hands. And then we're going to strum a sort of a very jazzy and weird-looking B7 chord. It's going to be a little bit jazzier than our regular B7. Here's how I do it. And then, okay. So why don't I build that from the top note down? And I'll show you an alternate, so don't worry if this is uncomfortable. 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then the E string over at the 7th fret. But these fingerings are hard if you don't have big hands. So what you can do instead, watch this, just bar the 7th fret and do 2 fingers like 8th fret. That'll give you, that's 3 notes there. I don't know if you can see that. I've got these 2 on the 5th and 3rd string, and I'm barring the 1st fret. All that matters is that we have a B7 chord with that melody note. Okay. I'll do the variations that I showed you now really slowly to show you that it's still the same musical effect. Oh, that was something different. If you can squeeze a pinky in there on the B string, it sounds like that, but that's a little too scrunchy for me. Okay, now I'll do the whole thing slow. Why don't we do it together? Ready? 1, 2, ready, and. did those with the easier variations. And the way I play it, I go. Okay. That is a personal choice. All that matters is that you get that and that. Okay, now what I'm going to do for the rest of the video, I'm just going to show you now the tricky variation, which I tend to play. If you were to take these notes, let's go up to the 5th fret and the 8th fret on the 3rd string and the 2nd string. Okay, so you get same notes, but now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to add an open E string. So I get, it's a little bit more complex of a sound. See that? Same musical idea. But what makes it tricky is that I still want the B string to be the loudest. And when I play the D string, I want it to ring, and then having to play my thumb on the G string makes it a little hard to control the D string. So, but I like the sound of that. And so you can do it either way. Easy way. Easy one, or okay, now this may sound like a lame excuse. This is not the guitar I usually play in concert, so every little thing like string spacing, for example, this string spacing is a little different. I'm not totally used to these spaces on these strings. So that, and the E string is rather loud on this guitar. It's really predominant when I play that. There we go. So I'd have to practice that on this guitar and get used to it. Okay, so let's go on to the next video, which is going to be the melody of the song. Straight up, Fly Me to the Moon. Okay. Okay, let's start looking at the main melody for Fly Me to the Moon. And I think I mentioned in the intro video that it's critical that you check out the Boo Boom Bap groove concept video here on the Study with Adam website. Okay, so this is a little, the way I'm going to show this to you, I'm going to show you the melody first, and then we're going to add the bass, then we're going to flesh out the chords, because that's a much more musically sound way to learn it, rather than to just dive into a lot of tabs and then go searching for the groove and the musical meaning after possibly getting the wrong musical idea as you stumble through the tabs. So the melody for the song, let's do the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Okay. Fly me to the moon. Okay. Now, as you may have seen in the concept Ba-Boom Bap video, if I'm snapping my fingers, I'll do it with my right hand so you can see it. I'll do it with both hands. Bum, 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 dum, bum. You see how that second note fell, ba, ba, it fell right with the snap. Fly me into the moon. So the general rule is any note that falls with that snap, ba, 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 bum, because that's a backbeat. I like to try to play it with a back stroke. With the right hand. It sounds better. So, and anything else, I pluck normally in this direction. So if it's 2 and 4, even if it's a single melody note, I'm going to try to pluck it with the backs of my fingers. That sounds more in the pocket to me than this. That's correct, right? That'll get me an A in school, but this one makes you snap your fingers a little bit more. Okay, so that's the reason we want to get the melody flow, because what we're going to do now is add bass to that and then fill it in. Now, the chord progression, it's E minor, blum, bum, 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 A minor, bo, dum, bum, D7, bo, da, ba, ba, G. Okay, so we've got to do, let's just do E, bum, 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 E minor to A minor for those first few notes. So now I'm going to put an E bass, bass note, A bass, bass note, okay? So now we're getting this outer shell of the arrangement. Now a nifty thing that we can do on chords, and I'll just limit it to these first two so you can see what I'm doing, is go root and then the 5th of the chord. That is called the 5th of an E minor chord. So we can go, and then we get to change the bass note when we do that. And then on A minor, that would be the 5th. Even though it's lower than the root note, it's still the 5th of the chord. Now we've got a little bass line that starts moving through a few notes. We're supporting the melody, and with the backstrike, we're keeping the groove. Okay, so that is the essential buildup. Let me take it a step further for you. I wanted to start filling in a middle voice, so I started playing around with some intervals. Check this out. I'm just playing the notes separately so you can make sense of them. And then so with just one more note, we start spelling out some harmony. Okay. Then what I like to do, because that still sounds a little thin, I'll fill in notes now. For example, the B string, I'll try to throw in the B string to flesh that out a little bit. So if you think of this, as the skeleton, what I'm going to do now is put a little bit more meat on it. So here goes. I'm going to do filling in the B string as filler. Okay. Now moving ahead, I go like this. I switch up to the 5th fret and 3rd fret, and I go. Okay, so I'm plucking the E string and hammering at the same time. That's really supposed to sound like an A minor chord with the 5th and the bass. Then I go to a D7 chord, hammering on the top melody note. We're still on D7. I go up to the 5th fret, thumb comes down to the A string. Now that's the first 4 bars. I'm going to do that super slow for you. And if you want to try to play along with me, you can. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. going to try to go even slower than that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me clarify, when I'm doing this backstrike, I'm trying to get the top 3 strings and kind of mute everything else. And if I'm muting, sometimes it mutes the B string also. So I'm getting at least those 2 notes, the A and the F sharp. See? But I'm getting the rhythmic physics and flow of what that backstrike offers. And a little percussive slap comes out also. What I'd like to do now to end the video is to just show you from the intro that we did in the last video how it leads into this section of the tune. And I'm going to go nice and slow for you. I'm going to do the easy version of the intro so that it sounds nice and clear. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and ba, 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 do, ba, go chicka do ba, ga ba, ga ba, ga do, chicka do ba, 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 next video, we're going to start with this C chord phrase. Now, I'm assuming you've checked out the ba-boom, bap, ba-boom, bap video. The underlying concept of the groove is ba-boom, bap, ba-boom, bap, ba-boom. And I could even go so far as going with my thumb. That's a lot of motion and a lot of mechanics for the thumb. So as long as we've digested that internally, playing just one note the way I'm doing now, playing single notes with the thumb where it punches the rhythm the right way is adequate. You don't need to go ba-boom, ba-boom every time. Okay, let's go on to the next video and do the next 4 bars of the A section of Fly Me to the Moon. Okay, so we are at the second 4 bars of the Fly Me to the Moon A section, or the first A section, I should say. Where let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. That is the lyric. Now, it's going to be a similar phrasing with the backstrike. Let me show you the notes first. Except on the D, we're going to do the backstrike. Guys, no. Okay. Or you see how I can groove the melody even without playing the whole arrangement? That's what I mean by you have to hear the melody line and be able to sing it and be able to groove it before you add the thumb and all the chords, okay? Blip, blip, bim, bum, boom, boo, loo, da, 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 da. Okay, now the next thing that comes, I do something a little bit unconventional, but pretty sounding. And it's not that hard once you practice it. You're going to go up to the 4th fret. Then you're going to play 3rd string, 5th fret. Open. 4th string, 7th fret. Open G string. Now this note, this A, is a little bit tricky to get because we're also going to have a bass note with it. So there's another variation that you can do here that might it looks complicated, but it might make things easier. Watch this. Harmonic at the 12th, open G. And I love the sound of that. I play it both ways. It has that ringing effect that's going to make everything sound very fluid. Okay? So now C chord. Then we're going to go down to G in the bass on the C chord. See, I just switched there. Okay. Okay. 2 fingers here and thumb over the top if you can do it. If you can't, you can do it like this. Everything in the 2nd fret. Then A in the bass. Okay. Next, now we're going to have to deal with that. What are we going to do in the bass during this thing? Here's what I do. Pinky up to B. Now this is tricky. And if you can't do this, well, I'm going to try to think of something that'll fit better for you. You can always leave bass notes off, okay? And then I go. And then I do a harmonic there. That was the variation with the fretted A. I know this is a really tricky fingering with the B here. Okay, so you can leave that B off. You can just play. You can just play the melody, because if you've got a groove in the melody, it's okay if it's not so full in the bass. Let's listen to it without any bass notes. I don't think I've ever actually played this, but this way, let's try it. Fine. It's absolutely fine. So if you can't get this bass thing, don't sweat it. Just keep a good groove. And here is the harmonic. When I do this, I go. There's a couple different ways you can separate the notes or play them together. Let me play this phrase now. This is bars. Of the tune, it's the 5th through the 8th bar. If the beginning of the tune is, considered bar 1, without the intro. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, now let's do it with the harmonic instead. Now let's do it one time without the bass, just so you can hear it, because you might have to play it this way if this is too hard to grab. Ready? And. Okay. Next, when we get to this E minor, I have a sneaky little thing that I do to do a fill-in. And I want to sing you the rhythm first so that you understand what it's supposed to sound like, because it's a funky kind of a triplet. Okay? So here we go. It's going to sound like this, coming from the B7. A 1, 2, 3, and bang, 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 bang. Chick-a-ding, chick-a, one more time. Jupiter. Let me count that in. 1, 2, 3, and bang, 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 bang. Okay, one more time. Bang, 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 bang. Now let me show you what notes we're going to play with that rhythm. The first one landed when I went bang. The very first one is that 12th fret harmonic, and then I come down to here. So it's like the bass player is doing a downward E minor arpeggio. So I'm going to go. Why don't we just practice that slowly a couple times? I'm not really doing it in time. I just want you to get the feel for it. And if you land over here with your thumb, the way I just did, then you're all set up, ready to play the B. See that? 1, 2, 3, and. Now the G string needs to be ringing. Jupiter and Mars. G string is still ringing, you hear that? So this dong, 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 dong is like a bass player doing it under the singer. All right. Let's go on to the next video and tackle the next phrase. It's the phrase that begins, in other words. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, so now we're at the part of the song with the lyric that goes, in other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. And you can hear from the way I'm singing it, I mean, I'm not a great singer, and I'm not trying to really sing now, but this, in other words, that lyric, in other words, we got to play ba-da-ba-dum pretty quickly. And I found a way that I like the phrasing of, rather than repeating notes on a string, I go like this. I put my first finger, second string, 5th fret, and my second finger, 6th fret, 4th string, and I go, let me show you where I'm placing my right hand fingers. D string, B string, high E. I'm skipping the 3rd, and I go, in other words. See how that matches the lyric? And I put, when this hammer's on, I play a low A. In other words. So that's a very ringing and comfortable feeling way for me to play this. Let me show you, as this comes out of what we did in the last video, how it's going to fit into the flow. Okay, I'm going to play this slowly for you. So sometimes I put a little extra, and in other words, or so in other words, which might not be 100% right. In other words, that's more correct. So it's a little bit of a funny spacing that you need to feel here in your right hand, but I think you'll get it. Following that, I do a pretty cool transition that I think I probably picked up off a Joe Pass record. And And then, so watch what's going to happen. Melody note is ringing, in other words, and the bass is going to go B, C sharp, D, but there's going to be a middle voice also. G sharp, 6th fret, D string, then open 3rd string, then I'm playing the 6th and 5th string, and then I play an open D. Pretty cool, eh? Okay. Next, I do a kind of a squeezy thumb over the top fingering for hold my hand. I'm doing 3rd finger, 2nd finger, thumb over the top, and hammering on the pinky. Now I realize that that is one of my difficult fingerings that may be a little bit hard for you to do. Let me give you a much easier version. You could just go again. So I'm just doing 2nd and 3rd, and then going down to the 1st finger. As long as you get that bass note and that melody note, that's the main thing. Okay? Or if your fingers are small enough to squeeze, I'm doing 2, 3, 4. That starts to be a very tight squeeze for me, but it's doable. Okay, I like that better. I can do it. I have long fingers, so that's the way I do it. Then I come down to what's called B minor 7 flat 5. And you'll see I've written on the screen, you'll see it just says fill up, because there's nothing that it has to be doing at that point. In other words, hold my hand. And I usually just play some chordal stuff like that until the next vocal phrase. See, that's the fill. Okay. Then the next, it says, in other words, one more time, in other words. And this is going to be a little trickier. You got to kind of do it down, and you got to repeat the notes on one string. But I have a trick to make this easier. What I like to do is put my 3rd finger on the high E string, which you might not be able to see that great, so that when I go, if these fingers accidentally touch the 1st string, for example, now I'm plucking both the top and the 1st string, but you don't hear it because this one's touching. So that sort of enables me to be a little bit sloppy. Okay, and then I do a similar walk up. As to that Joe Pass thing I showed you. Next, I'm going to do this all slowly for you again, so just don't worry if it seems like it's going through. This is just the first time going through, and then I'll come back and do this whole thing slowly. Sorry. And then I go 3rd finger down to the E string, pinky on the G string. So that's like a D7 chord, but with A in the bass, because remember, we get to use our 5th in the bass. Then I grab that, darling, and then so I'm going, it's kind of a stretch, 1, 1. this note's actually going to that note, so if you can bring that out, if you can bring that out, it'll sound prettier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start from this first time that we do In Other Words, and I'm going to play this super slow so you can watch it all go by. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. In other words. Okay, and then what I do following that as like a kind of a big band horn blast kind of fill. C sus to B sus. I believe it's C sus to B sus. Is it? Let me see. Yeah. So what that'll sound like is, I'll do it with the horn blast. Okay, so you hear bang. So you need to imagine a big trumpet blast on those chords, and then back to the tune for the second half of the tune, because up until those trumpet blasts, that's been 16 bars of music, and that's the first half of the tune. Okay. So let's go on to the next video where I teach you the rest of how I play the melody portion of the Fly Me to the Moon arrangement. Okay, so now we've done the first 16 bars of music, and we ended with this trumpet blast thing, and then we come in for another. This whole thing's going to repeat, and it's pretty much the same material that I showed you back, well, which video was that? I believe it was video 3, but it's the video with so there's a slight variation though that is optional, and it's a little bit advanced, but I want to show it to you because it's cool. And if you can't get this, then what you can do is just play the bum, 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 bum. You can play that a second time. But something that's evolved for me after doing this trumpet blasts, I play the first big E minor chord like a flamenco rasgueado. Just like that. And I try to still get the melody note out. But then what I do is I do a different rhythm than this backstrike thing that I showed you. Okay? I go, and I'm going to show you what that is. Okay, so if you have checked out the Improve Your Groove videos here, you'll know that the jazz groove that we're playing is based on a 12/8. So if you do 2 triplets and sing, put this note on the second chickata. So if you say chickata chickata twice on the second ta, chickata chickata, and and then let it kind of spill out from there. This is the equivalent of when you're playing the drum rhythm, it'll hook up with what the left hand is doing. If this sounds like Chinese, then just leave that alone. Don't worry about that. Play just straight up. Play the straight up melody. Okay. That's kind of an advanced thing that I just showed you. So I'll do it one time. Here's the advanced thing. And notice there's a little backstrike before. Okay. So you can try that if you want. So, and then the rest is going to play out this 16 bars. It's going to do exactly everything we've learned. I don't need to teach it to you again, but it's going to end a little bit differently. We're going to go, in other words, and then the Joe Pass thing. Please be, and right here, instead of going down here, we're going to go, we're playing what's called a B7 sharp 5, second finger, pinky, third, that's the B. If you can't get that, you can do some other kind of regular good old B7 chord, but this may sound a little too inside the ballpark, just a straight B7. You're going to need something a little jazzier so you can bring that note down. In other words, it's going to go to an E7 flat 9, which looks like a diminished chord, but it's just the name that we've learned in our guitar lessons. It's really E7 flat 9. Okay. In other words, watch this, your good old A13. And we're going to come down to that. Let me show you what that is. You've probably seen this A7 chord where you bar the top 4 strings and then play that G. Well, if you add the 3rd string, it has a nice kind of a jazzy sound. You see, if you do chords in a jazzy context and the chords are not jazzy sounding enough, it sounds a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't sound quite right. It's like it doesn't have quite enough of a complex color to it. So if you do, for example, that doesn't really sound right to me. Or if you go, it's too, it's not a complex enough sound. So that's why I'm adding that 3rd finger. Okay. In other words, I'm just, now watch what's going to happen. Looks like a C triad. I like to bar more than the top string, but you probably don't need to. So let me show you what I did there. Open D, 5th fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret. There. I love. And normally the song would just go you. But then when we hit the word you, we're going to do our little intro figure. Where we go, I love. And that's going to propel us into the rest of the arrangement. Okay, so I've given you lots of disjunct pieces of the arrangement because so much of it repeats. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play slowly everything we've done so far, from the intro to the first A section on through to this last little piece of what looks like the intro again. so that you can see it all hang together. And I'd like to say this is the basic tune. If the rest of what I show you in the next videos is too complex for you, then you can leave any of that out. This, what I've shown you up till now, is the song, okay? And that is enough to make a nice solo arrangement. So here we go. I'm going to play the easy version of the intro just so you can see it. Remember, if you want to play the tricky one, it's up there. But I'm going to play the easy one for this, okay? 1, 2, take, 1, 2, ready, and. Second time. Third time. Second half of the tune. This piece we just did. Oops, I went to the tricky one. And that's going to be what I just played there. That's going to be the next video. That's what I call the first solo chorus. Okay, and that's going to be like where the singer stops and the big band starts to do big band stuff. Okay, so let's go on to the next lesson. Okay. So we are now at what I'm calling the first solo chorus of Fly Me to the Moon. And let me explain what this is supposed to sound like. A chorus of a song in jazz is basically one time through the 32-bar song. So if you listen to Frank Sinatra sing this with the Count Basie Orchestra, when he finishes his vocals, in other words, I love you, he has just sung one chorus. So what I played for you in the last video was one chorus. Now what we're going to do is, based on the exact chords and structure to Fly Me to the Moon, we're going to do some jazzy stuff that kind of sounds like related melodies, but not quite the melody to Fly Me to the Moon. Okay, so what I'd like to do is first show you the melody. Let me play it for you one time, and then we're going to build it together slowly. So this is the finished product. We're not starting now. I just want to play it for you. It's based on the same chord progression: E minor, B, A minor, D, 7, G, let's get that much so far. Okay. 1, 2, ready, and. And then it's going to go somewhere else after that. Okay? Now let me show you how, let's go about learning this from the ground up. Now you're going to need to get a pretty good hand position. I like doing third finger and then hammering on the fourth finger. Now I know that might be tough. It might be tough for you, but here's what I do, and I'll try to figure out an easier way for you to do it. Okay? 1, 2, ready, and boom. Now that was 12th fret, then bend on the 5th fret, and then 3rd fret. One more time. A 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, now if that is too tricky for you, you can try this, where I'm just hammering up, or you can even slide. That actually sounds pretty good. You could do that if you need to. Okay. Let me show you what I do next to flesh it out with chords, because this will simplify it when you flesh it out. I'm playing the top 2 strings there. I'm going, plucking the top 3 strings and the E string. But there's one backstrike in there, right there. Okay. Next, when I go to the A7, here's the chord that I'm playing. I go. See, I'm just going bow. Notice the backstrike right there. So all together, the first 2 chords. Okay. Can you? Next, I do this thing that's sort of passable as kind of a D7 chord. This was tricky to figure out. 3rd finger, 2nd finger in the 5th fret. 1st finger reaches back to the D, and then I can still. Sorry, needs a backstrike. Let me show you what I do there. Open G, and then those 2 at the 4th fret. All together, ready, 2, 3, and. I play the B here so that the top G can ring. Okay. Next, I'm just kind of filling in harmony here. This is a little bit of a filler. Okay. C chord. So I'm plucking thumb, ring in middle, then the index. 3rd finger comes down to G, pinky goes up to high strings, so these are on the outer strings here, but I'm still playing a C chord again. Next, I come back to what looks like a D7 chord, but I put my thumb on the top. It's actually F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Then bar, top 3 strings, and then my B sus. I know it's getting horribly jazzy, so just bear with me. Pinky, smush the 2nd finger across 2 strings. Then B7 flat 9. That again, it's that diminished shape that we've been taught somewhere in a guitar magazine. And then top 3 fingers, 12th fret. Make sure I'm doing a harmonic. Okay, let's stop there. I'm going to do that all for you nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, and. And then I like to go, this looks stretchy, B, G, E. You don't have to do it like that. You could go B, G, E. I don't know why I do it like this. It's harder, but maybe I like the feel of the E string, so. Alternate. It's perfectly acceptable to go. One more time. 1, 2, ready, and. Or one more time, nice and slow for you. 1, 2, ready, and. So now let's go on to the next section, the next video, where I'm going to show you how this solo chorus continues.